Welcome to Sports Connection. I'm Darrin Joins, Williamson County Schools Athletic Director. I'm here with my partner in crime, Tate Mathews. Tate, welcome back.
Thank you. Glad to be here. Halfway through the year, over halfway now in football, and a lot of fall sports are starting to post seasons and wrap up. So exciting time of year, man. It won't be long. Qualls always had an extra pep in his step about this week because that meant basketball was right around the corner. So I know you kind of got that. You know, you've put on the county athletic director hat, but I know you're eyeing the start of round ball season. You got to be a little bit excited. Get, a little pep in your step.
I am, but I try to take what's in front of me. Take it today.
Stay on task.
Stay on task, which maybe my level of concentration is maybe a little bit, but better.
It's there. You know it's coming.
Of course it's there. Of course it's there. Hey, speaking of which, Tate, since our show shows you how quickly things happen, the district and region golf tournament has actually taken place. And look, I know we can say this about a lot of sports. Volleyball, obviously we've done well in football and some baseball. I mean, just go down the list. Soccer. I don't know if we're any better at any sport than we are golf. When you're talking depth, it's pretty impressive.
Yeah, it is, and it's been like that for a while. But you don't have a 15-time state champion in golf. But I know what you're saying, top to bottom.
Especially when you talk about it's such an individual sport where individuals can make the next tournament if their team doesn't. And it escapes me right now, but a couple young men from Centennial High School, only one makes the region tournament. He shot a 74, and then his teammate, again, the name escapes me, shot a 77 and doesn't even make it to the region. And in some schools, there's schools in the western part of the state, for example, that their golfer will shoot in the 100s at the state tournament. And good for them. I'm glad those kids get an opportunity to play. But it's just in our district, in our region, really when you come out of that, you could be the state champion. Ravenwood High School, Mr. September, Teddy Craig, since we've last talked, Ravenwood boys and girls won the district and region tournaments. So their entire teams, you know how it works, Tate, their entire teams will now advance to the state tournament. That's 5 boys. They'll take the 4 lowest scores in the team competition. Obviously, they're eligible for the individual championships as well. On the girls' side, they take 3 girls. 2 are eligible for the state title. So congratulations to Ravenwood and Coach Teddy Craig.
Mr. September, and he all but kind of told us this was going to happen. Now most good coaches, most successful coaches are confident, but he really thought this was going to happen. He obviously knew something, and it did happen, and so I think that's pretty cool, man. Hey, Greystone in Dixon, pretty nice place, isn't it?
I'm going to say, especially for the money, that's the best public course you can play in Middle Tennessee. Gosh, it's in great shape. Coach Jay Pallas did a good job out there organizing that tournament for the regional tournament. And a couple individuals I do want to mention. Shelly Yang, not a surprise. She wins the district and the region. Sophia DiPaolo of Franklin was the runner-up in both. Summit and Franklin girls both advanced to the regional tournament. Again, only one team advances to the state. That was Ravenwood. Franklin was the runner-up. On the boys' side, 3 teams advanced from the district. It was champion Ravenwood. They beat Brentwood by 1 stroke. It was like 296 to 297. And then Dixon ties with Franklin. So the defending state champion, I think they had 3 young men that shot in the 70s. This is what was so impressive. So they're playing out at Franklin Bridge in the district tournament. It's a tie. So they go to hole 18 now. It's a par 4. You drive it down, then you have to hit to an island green.
I've seen that, yeah.
All 9 of the 10 golfers parred the hole.
Wow.
And then one kid from Dixon birdies it.
So they win.
And Franklin's eliminated. It was impressive to watch. It was like Ryder Cup style.
That's crazy.
It's good stuff, man.
Were you there? And you were there for that?
I was there for both. I really enjoyed it.
That's really, really cool.
Hey, on the girls' side, Sophia DiPaolo did qualify for the state from Franklin. Claudette Runk from Summit High School, Brooke Brummett from Brentwood High School, they both qualified for the state. All 3 of those young ladies did. And then on the boys' side, Troop Wallace, he finished 4th, and he advances to the state tournament as well. So congratulations to him. Pretty fun event to be around. Golf.
Yeah, it really is. And now they will go on to Murfreesboro, right? Is that?
Oh, that course, no, it's Manchester, actually.
Manchester.
I think that's where the course is at. I drove out to it last year. It's and our guys, they were saying, hey, let's play Legends. Let's play Greystone again. Let's play, there's a lot of places they could have it, but I know it's centrally located, and I get all that stuff too. Tate, let's move on.
Congratulations to everybody.
Oh, absolutely. Let's move on to volleyball. I feel like Nolensville is turning into Brentwood Junior. They have now a 26 straight district winning streak as they defeated Murfreesboro Central Magnet. Brentwood did lose a 5-setter to Siegel, but they bounced back and defeated Franklin 3-0, so they're approaching 90 straight games. Ravenwood 3-1 over Independence, Summit 3-1 over Centennial. Next week at Ravenwood High School, district tournament starts. It's going to be exciting.
It's going to be exciting, and I'd love to see that 5-set loss to Siegel, which Siegel's they're the one, right, up there in Murfreesboro. If they could compete with them, they could do it. All streaks were made to be broken, right? So I would think Brentwood is even a little more motivated going into the district tournament, and my guess is they're ready to start another streak. So it's going to be a fun tournament for sure. You've talked about is Summit number 2, is Ravenwood number 2. It's going to be fun. That one's always fun. If you can just make it out of district,
Oh, yeah.
more than likely you got a good chance to skip right over region and into the state tournament.
Yeah, the region match is it's like I'm either going to go to the district championship or I'm going to the state tournament because the region.
It's kind of like in baseball.
It's
just get there.
Just get there. Soccer, congratulations to Coach Michael Burgoyne and the Franklin Admiral soccer team for their 2-1 win over Ravenwood. They clinched the district championship. They're undefeated with 1 game left, but they've still clinched the overall title. Goals by Avery Brown, game winner by Margaret DeFranco. Brentwood with a 4-1 win over Independence. Centennial 2-1 over Summit. And again, soccer getting down to the nitty-gritty.
Getting down to the nitty-gritty, and Coach Burgoyne, he has really done a great job on both boys and girls since he's taken over. Brentwood and Franklin both such years, all the way back to the 80s of success and tradition in both the boys and the girls program. And Franklin kind of dipped a little bit, but ever since Coach Burgoyne's gotten there, it's back up.
What a great guy, too. I know you deal with him, too, with what you do with the team gear, but what a pleasant guy to work with and be around.
Yeah.
It's no wonder. You can just tell. I think he's one of those guys, and I think you can say this about a lot of coaches. You could put him in any sport, and he'd figure it out.
He's a coach.
He is. He is. He really is.
It's funny you say that. But for the sake of time, obviously it's about Jimmy's and Joe's, but, it's kind of funny. You're sitting there talking about Ravenwood and Franklin golf. Well, both of them are baseball coaches. Coach Whipple just stepped down, but, I know probably a big part of it is spring sport, fall sport, and they can do it. But, Teddy just steps right into golf, and now he's Mr. September.
Well, I got to ride around on the course with Coach Craig a little bit, and you can see why he does a good job coaching.
Yeah.
He said he was so nervous he thought he was going to throw up just out there watching him. But he's got that demeanor that still, it was real fun.
He's a leader.
Cross country, 32nd annual, you probably know this, Frank Horton Invitational in Memphis. Couple of interesting results. Brentwood with the team win on the girls' side, but now, and this is bad for the rest of the county, Brooke Till, who usually finishes second for Brentwood, she wins the race. Caitlin Vanderkolk finishes 5th. So now
you're in trouble, everybody else.
Unless something strange happens, and you never know with health situations and that kind of thing, Brentwood's
they're the heavy favorite.
They're probably going to win the state title.
And it's a night race, right?
Yeah, I thought that was cool. I'm glad you brought that up.
Pretty
cool.
neat. Yeah.
Pretty neat. I thought maybe they should race with those, the little...
The spelunking lights? Do you like that?
Yes. And speaking of the Vanderkolks, Kevin Vanderkolk of Brentwood is now a commit to Belmont University, so congratulations to Kevin. Belmont, you're certainly getting a pretty serious runner.
Brentwood cross country has been a nice pipeline to Belmont. You've got the Vroon twins, and now Vandercolt going to a good place. Belmont, man, that's awesome. What a great place, and they're getting a good one.
They are. All right, Tate, let's talk a little football. Let's start off by talking about the first game that was ever on ESPN for a WCS team. Ravenwood 14, IMG Academy 45, 45-14. I don't know if you got to watch any of that game. I know you were out of town watching your son play college football. But Ravenwood, obviously, they're a program. It's no moral victories. But I'm telling you, they competed very well. 17-7 at the half. It was 24-14 midway through the third. But like you said with the Jimmies and Joes, the number of Division I level players, Power 5 level players for that team was just too much to overcome for Ravenwood.
Yeah, it was. And it was another thing where I did get to see some of it because of the 8 o'clock start. We got back to the hotel room and was able to watch it. And what a great, I know you were there. And that's what I was so happy to see is what a great exhibition of competing. I think, come on, let's be honest. We wanted to win. We wanted to beat the number 1 team in the country, but it probably wasn't going to happen. It's kind of funny. We were laughing off air, Ravenwood playing the underdog role. Not many people feeling real sorry for them, but they were the underdog. And I think, there's so many things going into it with what the schedule that Coach Daniels has had with Pulaski Academy and then Brentwood. And then, I went back. It was before Hester that they had a 3-game losing streak. I mean, it's been a long, long time.
So, by the way, you've stolen my thunder a little bit.
Was that the gym?
That's this week's gym.
I
2012.
2012.
No, it's okay. That means we're simpatico.
It's simpatico. I knew it was. I knew it had been a while.
With one another.
Of course, we speak the same language.
2012.
But I think that was the whole thing. I think Coach Daniels' message, I don't know, was we care about Ravenwood. Let's get back to, not that they weren't, but we want to compete. We got to clean some things up. They even started, Andrews didn't start at quarterback, and that wasn't a shot at Andrews. All he's trying to do is get our best 11 on the field at one time. And we don't know what that is yet, or we're going to try a few things out. I thought they did that. At one time it was 17-7, and I thought they competed. I think, like you said, no moral victories, but I bet they came out of that locker room feeling pretty good Friday night.
Trevor Andrews, speaking of him, and he's just such a tough
Did I say Nelson
competitor.
Andrews?
No, you said.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
You said Trevor.
His dad, I always mess that up.
200 yards passing, 19 of 37 attempts, but he played with such toughness, and you could really, I don't know if you could tell it on TV, but you could definitely tell it being there. A couple other players who demonstrated some great toughness and grit. Brendan Dickinson, 8 catches, 82 yards and a touchdown. Ross Johnston had a great game, 5 receptions, 52 yards and a touchdown. Junior Colson, Michigan commit, 8 tackles. And Miles Pollard with the hit. Did you see the hit?
I did.
My goodness, the dude's
I think I heard it.
The guy's mouthpiece was like 10 yards. It was like a 10-yard loss on the mouthpiece.
Yeah.
It was pretty special.
So have you ever been to Charleston?
No.
Okay, it's awesome. But
Charleston,
South Carolina.
Yes, I've been to Charleston.
So where over on the bay where the Yorktown is, that's where we stayed. Well, they've got a little museum next door or right in front of the Yorktown, and they have like they simulate the Vietnam War, and so you hear these bombs going off. We heard them going off all day. Then I heard that, and I just thought it was the museum again, but it was the Pollard hit.
Hey, you know something I learned about being in Charleston?
It's great food.
This should be the gym, actually. It's where the phrase "putting up a front" started. Because if you look at the houses in downtown Charleston, this is what a local told me. It's brick.
Yes.
And every other side, it's not brick.
Wow.
Putting up a front.
There's your gym there.
That's
putting up a front. Great food. King Tide, I learned that. The downtown flooded on Friday. And they said, oh, don't worry about it. It'll be back down by 7. I mean, there were streets you couldn't get down. We're sitting there going, what are we going to do? Don't worry about it. It'll be down by 7. And it was. Anyways, it was awesome. Ravenwood, as if they need any more ammo. That's the scariest three-loss team in the Southeast.
Well, and I noticed, too, in the rankings, still ranked 9th. I think Brentwood's 5th. Fairview's 5th. Summit still ranked in the top 5, I believe. at least top 10. But yeah, let everybody understands that 3-3 is not a bad record or a bad team considering who they've played, and they won't lose many more.
No.
They won't lose many
more. But I tell you what, and you're getting ready to talk about it, Independence feels pretty good about where they are. Independence Ravenwood, Independence Brentwood is going to be fun. No
doubt. Again, talking Indy, trending in the right direction. They're now 4-1, 2-0 in league play. I think last week I said 1-1. They're 2-0 in league play.
Correct.
35-23 win over Hendersonville, and it wasn't that close. They were up 21-3 early. They were up 35-10. Hendersonville with a couple of late scores. But again, Jackson Campbell, 11 carries, 153 rushing yards, 2 touchdowns, 12 of 21 passing, 184 yards and 2 touchdowns. Calvin Wilson, a touchdown reception. Trey Hartwell, a touchdown run. And then Taylor Condra, a touchdown reception. Independence is rolling.
They're rolling. Only lost to a healthy Summit team. And
that was 22 seconds they had the lead,
right? That's right. That one, right. That was a Destin Wade took over. And really, that was really a who had the ball last. I know Independence had the ball last, but they didn't have enough time. But if they had 2.5, 3 minutes on the clock, I'm not so sure Independence didn't win that game. But yeah, they're playing really well. Coach Blade likes this team. Jackson Campbell keeps getting better. What a matchup problem he is. And then little birdie, not from Independence, someone else told me that Hendersonville stayed in man pretty much the whole game. You can't do that. Blade's going to pick that apart. Why you would do that, I don't know. But 35 points later, and it sounds like they could have scored more. So, yeah, they're playing really, really well. I think everybody thought that it was a 1-2 Brentwood Ravenwood league. Independence has got something to say about that. I think they can score on anybody.
I do too. I do. I think, like you said, it's not a 2-horse race. It's a 3-horse race at this point.
Yep.
Centennial 28, Shelbyville 44. Big stat of the night. Rushing yards, Shelbyville 449, Centennial 102. Did have nice games from Josh Forsey. Once again, 48 rushing yards, 2 touchdowns, 3 receptions for 37 yards. Brendan Jones had a touchdown for Centennial running the ball. And then Cannon Plowman, Mr. Versatile, 4 passes, completions for 64 yards, 34 rushing yards, and 2 receptions for 67 yards. And averaged 21 yards on 4 kickoff returns. What can this guy not do?
He doesn't come off I guess he doesn't change the hardware on the helmets or something. He's not the equipment manager, but maybe he is. I don't know. He's an athlete, but good for him, man. We don't see as many of those as we used to. I love that. Good for him. And Centennial was up at one point. Did I see that right? They were up at one point during the game.
21. Yeah, that's correct.
Early,
that's correct. It's the third quarter, the 21-point third quarter.
Right, that got them. And they're just so young on their lines, man. That's just what it is. Had a chance, but they had to play perfect in that game. And obviously they didn't, but they're just so young on their lines. But that's what I love about it, and that's a credit of a good coach. Coach Kreisky's boys are still playing hard and getting better, and they're looking forward to that Franklin game. But and you mentioned Josh Forsey. All eyes were on him. And again, when you're not winning the line of scrimmage, it's hard to get 150 rushing yards. But 48 and 2 touchdowns, he continues to play well. They've got some good things going, man. Just stay with the coaches.
That's right.
Playing.
Give it time.
Yep.
Tucker Tremaine scored on a fumble that was forced by Cooper Allen. Allen finished with 7 tackles. Joe Nelson with 6. And what may have been my favorite game of the week. Even though they lost.
Yeah.
Fairview hadn't played in a couple weeks. They go to Lebanon on Saturday, 6A team, 3A versus 6A, David versus Goliath, so to speak. They're up 14-13 at the half. They end up losing 49-35 in a shootout. And really that 6A depth and size wore on them. But kudos to Coach Hughes and Fairview for going down there, looking them right in the eye and competing. They really made the community proud by doing that.
Well, it's like when you used to schedule Metro teams. You'd always schedule those Metro teams in your non-district early. They got more out of this loss than they ever get out of a boat race over, which those are nice.
Kind of like they're going to have this week against Camden.
Yes. I mean, this will pay dividends.
Yeah, I think so too. Riley Bennett, great competitor, wrestler. We talked about him before. 13 of 27 passing attempts, 132 yards and 1 touchdown. He also ran it 7 times for 39 yards. Interestingly enough, unless it was just a mistake on the roster, Bennett, when the season started, the first roster they put out, he wasn't even listed as the quarterback. Now, maybe that was just a mistake. I doubt it. It just shows you that, hey, here's an athlete. We've got Nardozzi. Everybody knows about Logan Nardozzi. But here's another guy who can do multiple things athletically, and you're seeing that not only by the pass completions, but also the rushing yards too.
Yeah, that's right. Well, and this is his first year as the starter too. So, he's getting better as the season goes on. Pretty funny how that works, right?
Shout out to Kendrick Curtis, a sophomore, who had a strip and a score for the final score for Fairview in that game. Franklin 21, Pope John Paul the second 28. Now, listen, when the games change, folks, because we do the show, sometimes maybe we didn't know, maybe I'm inept, and I did not know what the schedule change was. This is one that I just didn't realize it changed. We thought, both of us thought.
Yeah, I didn't catch it
McGavick's
either.
coming to play.
Right.
But that was a change that was made, I guess maybe a week ago, maybe 2. Pope John Paul, we did get that corrected on Twitter for our poll. You and I still made our picks offline, which we'll talk about here in a little bit. But really for Franklin, when you look at this game, it was about the start. The start got them. They got down 14-0 early, and then after that it was a 14-7, 21-7, 21-14, 28-14, 28-21. They just could not get back in the game. That 14 points to start the game hurt them. And when I looked at the stats, I thought the glaring difference was 2 turnovers for Franklin, 0 for Pope John Paul.
Well, you're 100% right. I mean, in a game like that, you have to win it. And hey, little side note, did you see what ended up happening to McGavick, though? Did you see all that?
Oh, was that the one that was like 3-0? Or?
No, so they canceled on Franklin to play another Metro team. So they're going to schedule Hillwood. Remember? Well, Thursday night, Hillwood has to cancel on McGavick because of COVID. Goodpasture gets canceled on by Boyd Buchanan. At 10:30 on Friday, Goodpasture and McGavick decide to play, which didn't turn out well for McGavick. McGavick should have just stayed with Franklin. But anyways, yeah, this was a tough game for Franklin. In my opinion, JP2 is that league's built differently. There's multiple kids on financial aid in the AAAs, and Coach Geisinger's done a great job. What I'm trying to tell you is that's a good football program. So that game being that tight, in my opinion, because Franklin had some momentum going, I think that was I think they'll be better for this than they were boat racing McGavick.
Well, ultimately, it doesn't matter in terms of region standings, but maybe from a psychological standpoint, You'd like to be 3-3 rather than 2-4. But they'll be fired up for this week's game. If they can get a win this week, then they'll forget
and
this one pretty quick.
And you mentioned Connor Bevan. It's kind of like every time you look at Centennial, whether it's a win or a loss, Plowman's name keeps popping up. Connor Bevan's name keeps popping up.
Grayson Bruce with a 52-yard touchdown run for the Admirals. Also, our man, Taylor Spirito, scores on a pass from Connor Bevan with 1.5 minutes left. They cut it to 28-21. The onside kick, they do not recover, and they just couldn't stop the clock. So you felt like the time just kind of ran out on them. Bevan, who you mentioned, was 18 of 30, 169 yards with the touchdown, did have 2 interceptions. Carson Repass, 7 receptions, 76 yards. Speaking of boat races, Summit 42, Clarksville Northwest 0. And Clarksville Northwest needs to pay Coach Coleman a supplement because they had 35 points in the first 10 minutes.
Yeah.
Like if he really wanted to as a coach, and he wouldn't do this because he gets it as a coach. And by the way, he's been there, as in 0-10 first year at Summit. So he understands it. They could have scored 350 points on that team. 35-0 in 10 minutes. That's pretty incredible. That's 140 for the game if you can keep that pace up.
Oh my gosh. Well, and this, you're right, because the running clock does not start until the third quarter. So, like, there's no relief coming in that second quarter if he doesn't want it to be. You're right. And, yeah, man, I hate it for them. Again, we say it all the time. I'm not just saying it because I'm with you. Games like that ought to make you thankful for the leadership that you have at a place like this, because that's a tough job anyways, and what they did to the Montgomery County schools, they gave them no chance for this year. None. Can you tell I'm worked up about that one?
Yes, I can. By the way, rushing touchdowns for Destin Wade, Brady Pierce, Trey Hunter, Jaqueline Cotton also. Zach Switzer with a 32-yard punt return for a touchdown. Kanata Wirtz interception for a touchdown. Total yards, 281 to 70, but again, it could have been much worse. Page with a big win, 36-10. And by the way, that game was at Page. We started talking about Chucky's Barbecue or something.
Hickory House.
Hickory House. Big win for Coach Rathbone and the squad, 36-10 over Giles County. We both thought that would happen, but I don't know if we thought it'd be 36-10. So Page trending in the right direction.
Trending in the right direction, getting better. Hey, what a statement here. You think of all the great quarterbacks Page has had. Zach Mizell. Mm-hmm. Right? I mean, we've had some dudes.
Who else?
Cade Walker.
Yes.
Jake McNamara. He said that's the best game he's played as a Patriot. He thinks he's got a chance to be one of, if not the best quarterback. Now, I don't want to put too much pressure on him to come out of there since he's been there. That's a big statement. That's
definitely a big statement. Final game in WCS this past week, Nolensville 14 at Columbia Central 28. Tied at 7 at the half. Big third quarter by Columbia. Ryder Gallardi did end up 19 of 26, 151 yards. A touchdown pass to Chance Fitzgerald. Defensive side of the ball, Braden Rose with 11 tackles and a forced fumble. Taylor Wynn, 7 tackles and a sack. So that one doesn't hurt them. I mean, they're playing Columbia. It's not in the league.
It's 4A, 5A.
They'll be fine.
They'll be fine. I do think, not an excuse. That one surprised me a little bit. I think Nolensville's a little bit more banged up than we thought. Again, doesn't count, but it counted for Coach Derek.
Yeah, tell Coach Derek that, right?
Yeah, easy for us to say. But they just need to get healthy.
Brentwood at CPA, and this is just going to keep happening. Unfortunately, CPA had to cancel that game late Thursday night. Even though he tried, Coach Crawford tried to pick up a game. It's just difficult to do at that point. And, if we would have known, we could have had Brentwood Fairview.
Oh, man.
Which would have been a lot of fun. And Coach Hughes would have done it. He would have.
Yeah. And for the Brentwood faithful, Coach Crawford found out at 9:20 Thursday night. It was just too late.
Too late.
And that was because Coach Martin didn't know till 9:19 Thursday night. But, yeah, that's tough, man, because now that's 2 for Brentwood.
Real quick, Tate, let's talk about the matchups, and then we're going to go to Pick'ems, which you'll be excited to do this week. Brentwood, in what really is the game of the week in terms of standings. Brentwood 4-1, 1-0 overall versus Independence 4-1, 2-0 overall, 2-0 overall. We'll know a lot more about the region standings when this is over. Brentwood wins, it becomes a little bit more clear. Indy wins, then we're talking, who knows?
Well,
it's going to be a great game.
No, if Indy wins, there's a new number 1.
Right, but I'm just saying, we'll be saying who's going to finish number 1.
That's right, yep.
Because Brentwood's only played 1 region game.
Yep. That would, right now, they're both undefeated in the region. You're right, the Indy's got 1 more. I think even with being off Friday night, I think Brentwood's still a little banged up too. So I don't know, man. Jackson Campbell, we talked about in Granzow. Now I think you've got a chance with the stats those two have been putting up. I think they got a good chance to be in the Mr. Football conversation. So, man, that is a great matchup right there between 2 top-notch quarterbacks. And for first place, again, like you said, not to beat a dead horse, but I don't think a lot of people thought we were going to be talking about that in week 6, but that's what this game is for.
Centennial at Franklin in the Battle of Franklin. Throw out the record's always a great game. It's also the WCTV game of the week, but, forgetting the records, but whoever wins this game is going to make playoffs.
Father versus son.
If you lose, you're out, right?
If you lose, you're out.
You're out.
Yep. And that's, I hate that for these two teams, but that's the way it's been the past few years. Coach Webb coached Coach Kreisky, Dr. Webb, the real doctor, hired Coach Kreisky. I think she coached him at track at Henry County. It's a family affair. Those two love each other. And they get a little worked up against each other.
And her loyalties in this game are with?
She makes no bones about it.
Centennial.
Yes, Centennial. She said it on game day a couple years ago. I hate that we're not having a Coach Webb, the doctor of defense, never disappoints at game day. There's so many great things about this, but you're right. The winner is going to the playoffs. Loser is playing for the rest of the season. It's tough, man, and I think it's a pretty even battle this year.
Fairview 3-1, 1-0 in region play takes on Camden 1-5 and 1-1. Ravenwood versus Dixon. And the reason I put those two games together is I think they have some things in common. The Fairview, Camden, and Ravenwood-Dixon game. I don't know where your hat's at, but
headed down to the marina.
You definitely should get that going. Nolensville. This is a tough game now.
Yep.
3-2, 2-0 in the league. At Tullahoma, 6-0, 2-0 in the league. I look back last year, Nolensville wins that game 13-7. It had a lot to do with who won the region title. Tullahoma is going to be a motivated team.
Tullahoma is going to be a motivated team. Tullahoma's playing really well. This is the best team Coach Olive's had down there in a while. They got some playmakers too. So, that one's a tough one.
In a battle of region powers, at least the past few years, Page 0-1 in the league, 2-3 overall, versus Summit 5-1, 1-0 overall. This is really, to me, a tale of experience versus inexperience. It's kind of been
flipped.
So now it's more the inexperienced Page team having to travel to Summit.
Coach Rathbone's telling his team nobody's giving us a chance. Coach Coleman's saying, hey, they're the two-time defending region champion. It's time to take that away from them. Both of them have some motivational things there, but you're right. It has definitely flipped this year. And then anytime Destin Wade has the ball in his hands, there's a good don't go get a popcorn when Summit's on offense, because there's a good chance number one's going to take it to the house.
Tate, this brings us to our portion of the show that I know you'll be very happy with.
Oh, the poll? Did something happen?
So Pick'ems this past week. So I can feel better about myself. Dr. Qualls was 3-5, 21-15 overall. I mean, we may as well go down to Lipscomb Elementary and get like one of the second graders to get involved in Pick'ems, because he is barely over 500.
Maybe Coach Taylor, who is one of the Hall of Fame elementary school PE teachers, along with his co-teacher, Brenda Vroon, who is the Hall of Fame summer swim coach. Maybe we need to let Coach Taylor do the picking.
He's now 21-15. The Fans and I were both 4-4 last week. The Fans are 24 wins. I have 25 wins. And Tate, it was definitely Separation Friday. You were 6-2. That's 2 more wins that you picked over second place, which was the Fans and I.
So what position does that put me in?
That would be the Fans and me, actually.
What position does that put me in?
You're now first.
Oh, the leader.
26 wins. So now I've got some catching up to do.
Catching up to do. There's some tough games this week, too.
Okay, I've definitely got it stacked who's picking where.
Okay.
Well, at least I think I do.
You're the executive producer.
By the way, fans, keep voting on WCS CO Athletics. Again, and vote on all the games. Make sure you step up and not only vote for your favorite team, but maybe yours that aren't your favorites.
We have a lot of loyal listeners. Maybe none more loyal than Coach Paul Brees, Grassland
Definitely.
Middle School Athletic Director and women's defending WMAA champion?
Yes.
Yes. Basketball coach on the girls' side. Highly critical of our picks. Is it time to start making his picks public?
No, that'd give him too much credibility.
Okay, gotcha, all right.
Which we're doing right now. We're giving him credibility by talking about him.
Well, I'm a Brees guy.
I love Coach Brees. Here we go. Brentwood, 4-1 versus Independence, 4-1. Again, big region matchup.
Tough.
It's a tough pick, but since it's at Brentwood, I'm going with Brentwood.
Final answer?
Final answer.
These two have had a lot. It seems like every year I think Independence is going to win, Brentwood wins, and same thing. And I'm with you. Coach Blade, you can tell he likes what he's got going with Jackson Campbell. I still think Brentwood's a little bit beat up, but I'm with you, man. Brentwood just, every time I pick against them, they burn me. I like Mr. Granzow. I think he's really found a rhythm, even though they were off last week. I'm going, and at Brentwood, I'm going with the Bruins.
I think that's the difference. If it were at Independence, I would pick Independence.
On the turf.
Centennial, this is your pick. Centennial at Franklin, WCTV Game of the Week, Battle of Franklin.
Man, a tough one. I hate it for both these teams because I just wish we could get one more in because they would do well as is documented. But I think that line in Franklin, that's where Centennial is young and hurting right now, and then that big old line of Franklin's, I think they're going to lean on them. I think that's the difference. I'm going with the Admirals.
I'm going Franklin as well for the exact same reason. I think it's tight like it always is early. I feel like late in the game, Franklin will pull away because of the size of that big offensive line.
I'm with you, man.
Fairview versus Camden. Let's just go ahead and both mark Fairview.
Because we're behind, I'm not going to go get it. Normally, I would have a boat hat on right now.
Nolensville at Tullahoma. Your pick.
I'm a huge Paul Derrick fan. I think they're a little banged up, and I think this is a really, really good Tullahoma team. The Knights end up second in the region. I think Tullahoma wins Friday night.
Begrudgingly, I'm going to have to agree with you. I thought that might be one we would have picked different, but I think the banged up is the difference, and the being on the road.
That's right.
And Tullahoma's motivated.
And you know, that is a tough trip from Nolensville. That is not, they're going to be on the bus for a while.
Page versus Summit. My pick.
Oh, sorry.
My pick. Summit's just, they've got too much for them this year. Page will battle, but just too much experience, too much size, too much Destin Wade. Summit comes out on top in this one.
The only way to do it is to keep the Summit offense off the field. And that's not how Page is built. Summit.
Again, no reason to get your hat, but you should. So we're going to be tied still because we picked the exact same way. I feel like maybe you pulled something on me.
I feel great about all of them.
Ravenwood over Dixon, right?
Yes.
Okay. You want to change any picks so it can be different?
No, I'm pretty confident.
Okay. That's what we'll go with. Tate?
Although that Independent, I don't feel – I think you could go either way on Brentwood Independent.
I do too. Tate, as always, great to see you.
You too, brother.
Can't wait to talk more sports next week.
Yep.
Thanks for joining us on Sports Connection. We'll see you next time.